Awesome. And by the way, congratulations again, Mark, on reaching the closing phase. This is a huge success.
Thank you.
And shall we start?
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, Mark, tell us about the business you're about to close on and what made it the perfect opportunity for you.
Well, actually, I closed on it in May. So
Oh,
I've now been, as of today, I've been the CEO of this company for 5 months and 2 days.
awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. That's
yeah.
great.
So to your question about what made it perfect for me, um, so let me get the company real quick, and I'll tell you why it's perfect for me. So I help
All
that.
right.
I bought a food manufacturing company. It's a 88-year-old food manufacturer in Los Angeles. I have over 40 employees. It does between $9 and $10 million a year in revenue. Uh, we have typical Pareto for our business. We have 25 customers that drive 8% of our business, but we have dozens and dozens of customers beyond that. We have over 100 SKUs. We make all fresh foods, so we consider it a wet environment because there's a lot of water in our production process. We do salads, salsas, accompaniments, and desserts. And when I say accompaniments, I mean sauces and margarines and dips and so forth. And so why is it perfect for me? Because this is a business that I would say was run by a technician or an operator for over a decade. And so it hasn't had a true CEO in chair for a very long time. And that's perfect for me because my background is turnarounds, M&A, working to make companies run better. And I consider this a leadership move versus a technical move. I'm a terrible cook. I do not spend much time in the kitchen, but what I do know to do is how to build teams, how to run a business by the numbers, how to set KPIs, how to develop talent. And that's what I'm doing for this company. And so far, I would say so good.
That's awesome, Mark. Um, and just to go back, you found us Acquira through Facebook. Is that correct?
It was some social media, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what was happening in your life that made business ownership appealing to you then, back then?
Yeah, so for me, I've been in corporate America for a very long time. I came out of grad school in the year 2000. And from there, I've worked for a lot of blue chip companies. I've worked my way up to the executive ranks. Director, senior director, VP, SVP, all the titles that we chase in corporate America. I would say for me, at some point in my career, I was getting more money than meaning from what I was doing. And I had, been part of so many small companies on leadership teams. I've been next to CEOs. I've been a, sort of chief of staff role. I've seen the good, bad, and ugly of leadership, and I always felt that I could do it. And before I sort of hung up my business cleats, I want to make sure that I had a chance to be in the captain chair, if you will, to see what it felt like. And I would say that I wish I had done it sooner. And what I would say is also that at some point you have to give yourself license to make a move like this. It is daunting, it's risky, it's challenging. But I would say the way I describe myself and the process I went through was sort of like a caterpillar in a chrysalis. Then you come out, a year or whatever, how long it takes to get your business, you come out as this butterfly, if you will. And once you're on this side of it, It really is one of the most gratifying things you can do. I wake up every day. I want to be clear. I'm exhausted, right? I have a very, very tough role, but it's a different type of exhaustion. It's an exhaustion from a labor of love. And I wake up every day excited about a chance to get the next P&L and go in the right direction, to promote that employee who's showing promise, to solve big, challenging problems, to make decisions that will impact my company in year 2, 3, and 4. Those type of issues I get to wrestle with and solve is more meaningful than the PowerPoints I was doing and the emails I was sending in my corporate goals.
That's awesome. Um, and you mentioned earlier with your MBA and W2 background, why did you decide to join Acquira's Accelerator program instead of going it alone?
Yeah, I think that you mentioned my background, my academic background. I think that it's important to be a lifelong learner, right? I tell my team all the time, I read constantly. I read Buy Then Build, and I'm reading the E-Myth now. I have my team reading the 5 dysfunctions of a team as we learn how to operate together. And so I realized that I didn't know what I was doing. So I look at my mental file drawer, and it's just full of corporate, governance and behaviors and so forth. Nothing in my file drawer told me how to buy a company. So instead of just going out there and looking on, the aggregator sites and starting to talk to brokers, I decided to educate myself on the lingo, on the process, and understand how to present myself to brokers and to banks, to understand how to identify and all the things that Acquira does, right? And so I wanted to be credible in this space. I know a lot of people always think they want to buy a business, but they don't take the time to invest in themselves to prepare to do so. I've done something that I think is fairly uncommon, although lots of transactions happen in in SBA and so forth every day. I do think that having the desire to move in this direction is important. I think having the authority, meaning the financial wherewithal to acquire a company, is important. But desire and ability doesn't mean capability. And I think you need all three. And so I want to put all those together. I definitely wanted it. Had the cash in the bank to make this happen. So I want to make sure I have the capability, the knowledge to do so effectively. And I think that worked out pretty well.
Awesome, and love that. It Upon checking on your file, you started with 50 to 100K. Is that correct?
50 to 100K what? I'm sorry.
Capital?
Me?
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't recall what you say file. I will say
Oh.
so. Yeah. So my investment. There were a couple of investments I made, to be honest with you. I invested in me to take time off to do this. So I left my last job, and I made sure that I had a runway of cash to keep the lights on and the water running in my home. And I know many people do this, while they work. And I think that there is a continuity of the rhythm of working that makes that viable.
Mhm.
I wanted the chance to kind of concentrate on this. So the first investment I made was in me to make sure I had, 8 months or so of cash available to not disrupt, our home. When I looked at the business, I invested about 150,000 into the business to get my loan, and now I'm looking at the sort of ROI and payback. And I think it's really important to realize that that 150, which I was glad to have, and and blessed to have the means to do that. was sitting in a bank account drawing 4% interest, a month. This was back during COVID, so the interest rates were a little bit higher. And I was happy to get a grand or so, interest each month. That 150 now is paying me a full salary every single month if you think of it that way. So the return on my investment is already paying fruit. I will air quotes get that 150 back within a year. Obviously it's going into bills and so forth, so it's not sitting in a pile in my bank account. But what that 150 is generating is far, far more than it was in the bank. So that I am now the interest. I am now the vehicle for accelerating the value of my investment. And I think it's important to think of it that way. You might see a big deduction in your bank account, but day one, when you get your business and you're on a payroll, you're getting paid back immediately. And so whether it's through your salary or eventually through your dividends, you're going to far outpace what any bank or investment can do by buying a business.
Cool, and that's awesome. And on the community side or support side, how did Acquira help you with that support, with kind of support in your journey?
The support support is still happening, by the way. So, the weekly calls were great. I actually, I do miss them. They're still coming on my calendar, but I just don't have the time to jump on the calls, right? And I think it's important to don't just sit there and look, and listen and take notes, participate. As you start wrestling with the terminology, the lingo, it can be very intimidating. But the team calls are a safe place to ask what you might consider a silly question, because there's no other place. You can't shout into the internet, right, and get a reply. So you've got people who are on the same journey as you. They've made an investment in themselves to learn this process. Take the time to learn. Put yourself out there. Be vulnerable and ask the silly question, because you'd rather get it answered in a forum like this than try to, say something to a broker that makes your credibility vanish on the first call. And I understand that brokers are going to be choosy. And we all know that before those businesses hit those aggregator sites like Bids, Buy, Sell, or whatever, the brokers are talking to the money players who have already shown that they know how to run a business. And if they don't want them, that's when they go to the sites, and that's fine. So now you have to show these brokers that you're worth presenting to the buyer, and being able to understand how the game is played, how brokers expect you to show up, is what you learn in those calls. So I think it's really important to test your theories, ask your questions. So when you go out to the broker community or the banking community, you're armed with the knowledge and the credibility. And so that's what the resources do. There's also the one-on-ones. You can grab anybody, not just the leaders of Acquira, but your peers. Jump off the calls and reach out via Slack and say, hey, do you have 5-10 minutes? Make a friend, make a contact. And I just said earlier that I'm still getting benefits. There's an individual in the group who is from the food industry who just reached out to me and said, hey, I hope things are going well. Here's a broker that is in your business, that's in your sector, that I think you should talk to. I'm having a conversation with them later on today. This is a contact that could bring me multiples of millions of dollars for my business. And I got that through the network and Acquira. So it's not something you do once you buy your business. Stay connected, because this is now you're an alumni, if you will, of this organization, and these are still your cohorts.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And Mark, you move fast from discovery to enrollment. What made you decide quickly, and how did that help?
Yeah. So I talked to several. I was doing research, so it might have been a web search, it might have been social media. And once you start looking, you know how social media works. I start looking for accelerators. All of a sudden, I just get ads for everyone. What's important to me is culture. And I talked to several that were honestly arrogant, very off-putting, sort of sort of alpha male type of deal, honestly. When I spoke with Acquira, and I looked at the model, what I saw was a very healthy respect for change and change management, talent, human capital. One of the first recommendations they say is to hire a people and culture leader. That to me showed that Acquira understood that this is not just about numbers, it's about people. Now, my background is human resources, so there's a natural fit for me in that space. And so it felt like the culture of Acquira was more my speed. And it absolutely played out, willing to talk about, at any time about anything. You can reach out to anybody on the team through Slack and, pose a question. The responses are, very thorough and well laid out. And it feels like they really want you to be successful versus they just want you to pay a fee and just read their material. So that's why I chose it. I'm pretty good at assessing talent. That's what I did for 25 years. So I felt confident I was making the right call, and I definitely agree with that.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And uh, what two or three key lessons from the accelerator program help you reach this point?
Uh, Two or three key lessons. Great question. Um, I think the first lesson I learned is pull the trigger quick. I think that if you look at the models and the spreadsheets and the calculations, you could, get lost in the sauce, if you will, of calculations and analysis. Brokers want people who are confident and can move out. So pull the trigger quickly. Also, don't be overly academic in your due diligence. Don't send the sellers, 37 questions from your spreadsheet in a cut and paste in an email. Make it conversational. These people are running business. I can imagine right now if I had someone asking me about, my 3 years of P&Ls and my taxes. I'm like, right. So be mindful that these are very, very busy people. Make your due diligence conversational versus academic. Was a great lesson to learn. And I think what I'll say for the third one, at least from my experience, is if you're coming from corporate America, which is built up and robust with governance and operating models and tools and technology and so forth, lower your expectations when you're buying a small business. I run a $10 million business that is run off paper. So my inventory is someone coming from a cooler with a hairnet scratching on a pad about how many, cases of salsa are in a cooler. I have to accept my business where it is, and I have to put a plan in place to lead it out of it. So I would say drop some of the corporate forbearance and, expectations. Meet your team where they are. Everyone who works at a small company, I would say the majority of people are dedicated to the business, want to, have a great organization to help take care of their families. They're there because, they place means something to them. Honor and respect that, because once you go into change to build your business up, you're going to need that expertise and wisdom there to help you guide through that. So coming in, sort of hot and on fire, if you will, might not be the best thing to do. So yeah, that's what I learned. Pull the trigger, don't get lost in the sauce of analysis, and when you get your business, respect the history.
That's awesome. And just to go back, how does business ownership align with your long-term career and financial goals compared to continuing the W2 roles?
Yeah, I think aligned with my goals. I've always fancied myself a business person, and what's interesting is that it doesn't feel any. It doesn't feel it's not different. It does feel, it feels very different. It doesn't feel like this is something that wasn't supposed to be. And you think about it, I was, HR professional on, you know, May 7th. May 8th, I was the CEO of a company. It was literally, it happens in a day. And I think that once you kind of get over the any fear or hesitation to do this, once you're in it, it just feels really, really natural. So it aligns with my career because I've always believed this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to lead teams. I was not meant to build business. And so to actually wake up every day and, look at orders, to give you a feel for my business, I buy 40,000 pounds of potatoes for potato salad every week. 40,000 pounds a week. I have, lots and lots of other ingredients there, but I spend about almost $500,000 in raw materials every single month for my business. And so to wake up every day and to see those numbers flying through my P&L and seeing my team driving down, inefficiencies, driving down waste, driving up OEE for my equipment. It feels very natural. It's very meaningful to me, and to know that I'm supplying hundreds of grocery stores and restaurants around the world is very, very gratifying and interesting. By the way, I ship pasta salad to military bases in Guam and South Korea, right? And so I'm part of the fabric of the economy and of my country, and I'm helping feed the people who protect us around the world. It's like there's so many ways to get value and meaning out of what I'm doing right now, and that's what aligns, from my aspirations. As I said, I stopped chasing money and started chasing meaning, and I wake up every day full of meaning with what I do.
That's awesome. And Mark, if another professional is watching this and considering the accelerator program, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that this is one of the hardest things you're going to do. And what Acquira can do is prepare you for what you're about to get into. A lot of people talk about, the VC process, the money raising process, the buying, business process, and walk away from it disheartened, frustrated. I think that what Acquira does is decomplicates and deconvolutes that process. And let me just tell you this, it was hard, it was daunting. But on the side of it, I now know the lingo, know the players, right? Know the process. And so I'm no longer in the world of proving myself. I'm now the proof. So when it comes to the next one, I already have a roadmap to get there. And so my advice is to bet on yourself and partner with an organization that can prepare you for this journey, and make sure that this is not just seen as a transaction for you, but a transformation of who you are. And I think that that's what I would tell what Acquira did for me.
I love that. And what would you tell the seller or a business seller about what it's like working with an acquired trained buyer who also has a strong business education?
Yeah, as a seller, I had a 6-month transition with my seller. And if you read all the books, they say they last for 60 days, 90 days, and usually something happens. The seller has a bunch of money, they want to go off into their new life. The two can't figure out how to have two hands on a steering wheel for a moment in time, and it doesn't work out. I think that being able to go through the process, understanding the value of a transition, what that means for you as a buyer, but also for the seller is important. And so I would say that the training, the understanding of this process, again, it's not just a transaction between two people. It's, it's a transfer of, in my case, a transfer of a stock of a company, and all that comes with it. And so I think that I understood the value and the need of having a smooth transition from my understanding of the materials and the process. And I think that, you know, I'm an individual from Acquira, but I do think that overall, the people I met in the program really see this as an opportunity to honor the history and legacy of a seller versus just getting their hands on a company and booting them out of it. And so I'm glad we made it the full 6 months. Well, actually, it was 5.5, but close enough. I'm glad that we were able to have a huge celebration and honor the prior owner. And I appreciate the prior owner staying there while I was able to build a team and set them up for success going forward. Right. And understanding that there's likely going to be a seller's note. So keeping that person engaged and happy and willing to receive calls once they leave or be part of your board going forward is really important. And I think understanding the entire landscape of this process, which Acquira provides, makes it better for both the buyer and the seller.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And last question, Mark. If you could go back to that version of yourself who first saw our Facebook ad or anything on social media, what would you tell him about taking this leap?
Well, since it's been a raging success and I'm now the CEO of a fairly large company, I would say good job on your selection, right? But I would say, um, make a choice. I would say, look at what moves you, what you value in an organization. Just like you're looking for a job, you work for an employer that you admire. And I think that what the team is building at Acquira is different. I do think that there is this sense of yeah, look. I honestly I think Acquira is giving back to the overall community. If you think about it, increasing the likelihood of success of a transaction like this when there's billions of dollars flying around these transactions every day, and be part of helping them be successful to increase the success rates. I think is great. And so I would say that looking at this, find the right organization that fits your ethos, that fits your values, that will help you on your journey. There are many out there. I think this is a good one. And if you understand what this whole process is about, and you like an organization that has a balanced look at it, rigorous on the transactional side, but care for the humans that are part of these transactions, I think this is a good call.
I appreciate that, Mark. Thank you so much again for sharing your story, and congratulations again and on reaching the on closing the business. And we are so proud of you. Do you have anything to add to our viewer or something?
Yeah, I would say the CEO mindset starts when you decide to do this. I had to be a CEO long before I bought my company. I was a CEO when I decided to purchase my access to Acquira, and everything I did was just uncovering more and more layers of what a CEO is and will be. And I think that's important. The day you sign for your all those documents, the amount of paperwork you're going to sign to buy your business, it's going to be a blur. and you're not going to have a moment to like contemplate who and what you are. You're going to push submit on that DocuSign or whatever you were doing, and you're going to be the CEO of a company. And so getting that CEO mindset early is critical. And I think that the materials, the people, the process, the presentations prepares you for the CEO mindset. And if you walk in with that understanding and grab onto it, you're going to be very successful. And hope to see you on the side sometime soon.
Awesome. Love that. And thanks so much again, Mark.
Thank
Have,
you.
have a good one.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.